Throughout history, punishment was often brutal, harsh, and terrifying. Medieval Europe, in particular, had a reputation for devising some of the most gruesome punishments ever known. The justice system of this time was not only about retribution, but also about deterring others by making examples of criminals in horrifying ways. 1. Drawing and quartering. One of the most infamous and brutal punishments in medieval England, particularly for those convicted of high treason, was drawing and quartering. First, the accused was dragged by a horse to the execution site, known as being drawn. Once there, they were hanged almost to the point of death. Next, they were disemboweled, often while still conscious, and their insides were burned in front of them. Finally, the body was divided into 4 parts, and the head was usually placed on a spike as a warning to others. The sheer brutality of this punishment was meant to showcase the ultimate consequence for betraying the crown. 2. The breaking wheel. Also known as the Catherine wheel, this punishment was widely used across medieval Europe for particularly heinous crimes. The convicted would be tied to a large wheel, and their limbs were shattered with a heavy iron bar or hammer. Afterward, the broken body would be woven into the spokes of the wheel, and they were often left to die slowly, exposed to the elements. This agonizing method of execution could take days to lead to death, making it one of the most painful ways to die. The wheel was also hoisted into public view to ensure a message was sent to onlookers. 3. The Iron Maiden. This infamous torture device was believed to have been used in the medieval period, though its authenticity as a real medieval invention is still debated. The Iron Maiden was a coffin-like structure lined with spikes on the inside. When closed, the spikes would impale the victim, often missing vital organs, so they would die a slow, painful death. The confined, claustrophobic space only added to the horror of the situation. It wasn't just about killing. It was about prolonged suffering before death, making it one of the most feared punishments in folklore, if not in practice. 4th, rat torture. While not unique to medieval Europe, rat torture became a popular method during the darkest periods of the Middle Ages. The victim would be strapped down, and a cage containing hungry rats would be placed on their body, typically the stomach. The cage would be heated from the outside, forcing the rats to burrow into the person's flesh in a desperate attempt to escape. The slow and excruciating gnawing could lead to death, but not before intense, unimaginable agony. Flaying alive. Flaying, or skinning a person alive, was one of the most excruciating punishments in medieval Europe. The skin would be carefully and systematically peeled away, often beginning with the face. This was a punishment reserved for the worst of the worst: traitors, rebels, or those who committed particularly egregious crimes. Not only was it torturous, but it was also symbolic. By stripping someone of their skin, their humanity was, in a sense, stripped as well. 6. The Spanish donkey. The Spanish donkey, or wooden horse, was a sharp, triangular device upon which the victim was made to sit. Weights were often added to their feet, increasing pressure on the groin as they straddled the sharp edge. The result was excruciating pain, and in extreme cases, severe injury or death. This method was used particularly in the Spanish Inquisition and was designed to induce submission and confession through unimaginable pain. 7. Boiling alive. Boiling alive was exactly what it sounds like. The victim was either immersed in boiling water, oil, or even molten lead. Sometimes they were placed in cold water, which was then gradually heated to prolong the agony. Boiling was a public spectacle, used not only for punishment, but also as a gruesome warning to others. It was typically reserved for those guilty of poisoning, counterfeiting, or other severe crimes against the state or church. 8. Sawing in half. Sawing in half was a particularly gruesome punishment for those accused of blasphemy, adultery, or heresy. The victim would be hung upside down, allowing blood to rush to their head and prolong consciousness during the process. The executioners would then begin sawing from the groin downward, often cutting the person in half slowly. This method, which appeared in various forms across medieval Europe, was meant to evoke the maximum amount of fear and pain. 9. The Scorns Bridal. For women accused of witchcraft, gossip, or being too outspoken, the Scorns Bridal was a common punishment. This iron muzzle was fitted around the victim's head, with a sharp metal piece inserted into the mouth to press against the tongue. The device prevented speech and often caused wounds or infections over time. Women forced to wear the Scorns Bridal were often paraded through the streets, adding public humiliation to physical pain. It was less lethal than other punishments, but its goal was to break the will of those it was used upon. 10. Burning at the stake. Perhaps the most iconic medieval punishment, burning at the stake was used to execute heretics, witches, and those deemed enemies of the state or church. Tied to a wooden post, the accused would be surrounded by kindling and set ablaze, often burning alive in front of a crowd. It was as much a symbolic execution as it was a physical one. The fire was believed to cleanse the soul of the accused. Burning at the stake was especially common during the medieval witch hunts, a dark period of European history when paranoia led to the deaths of thousands. Medieval Europe was a time of harsh justice, where punishment was not only about righting a wrong, but also about maintaining control through fear. These punishments were designed to be as public and as terrifying as possible, ensuring that the population remained obedient and the ruling class stayed in power. As brutal as they were, these methods of punishment offer a glimpse into the darker side of human history, where cruelty was wielded as a tool of authority. Thankfully, many of these horrific practices have long since been abandoned, but they remain a chilling reminder of a less compassionate past. If you found this video insightful, make sure to like and subscribe for more historical content. Let us know in the comments below which punishment you found most shocking and if you'd like us to cover more ancient punishments from other civilizations.